Welcome back to The Case for America on Real America's Voice.
Welcome back to The Case for America. I'm Treniss Evans. Joining me now, Dr. Peter McCullough, internist, cardiologist, one of the most published physician in his field. He is also the chief scientific officer of the Wellness Company. Dr. McCullough's board certifications were revoked. Dr. McCullough has testified that early treatment was suppressed, that vaccine risks were dismissed, that federal agencies shut down dissenting science. Doctor, was this public health or was this about control?
Well, thanks for having me on the program. One clarification, my board certifications weren't revoked. I resigned from the American Board of Internal Medicine, but I'm fully certified by the National Board of Physicians and Surgeons, thankfully. But we saw unprecedented censorship and professional reprisal for any doctor who stepped out and tried to treat a sick patient with COVID-19.
Yeah. And 6 years later, are we any closer to some accountability for this, for those that did this, for the people that shut down your voice, didn't allow the American people to hear a top-rated physician like yourself, sir?
No, we're not. Sadly, attempts at the top by Senator Rand Paul to bring Anthony Fauci to justice have not prevailed. Mary Kelly Bowden in Houston, Texas, be pursued by the Texas Medical Board. Attorney General Paxton stepped in, and the medical board doubled down against Mary Kelly Bowden. So, no, we're not seeing any signs of the tide turning for justice.
So, I mean, we were all looking to this, that we were looking to President Trump and this administration to right these wrongs, cure these injustices, and bring full accountability to these matters. Yet this DOJ, over a year later into the administration, has, they seem to be nowhere to be found on these issues. I don't know. I like to think that these things are happening under the scenes and we're about to see it all. But, the hopium's starting to wear out for me.
It may be a priority matrix. We've had the release of the Epstein files, the DOJ very involved in the immigration clashes that we've seen. Of course, Trump, in his presidential address to the nation, didn't even mention Health and Human Services or Make America Healthy Again. The distractions with Greenland, Venezuela, Iran, and the list goes on and on. So it may just be a priority matrix. The bottom line is, people need to take matters into their own hands. They can do their own research, make their own decisions, and find doctors like those at the Wellness Company that will help guide them through these difficult situations without government infringement.
That's a continual theme, right? Government infringement. But, I'll just speak specifically to the fact that you tried to tell people these things during COVID. I listened to you speak. I listened to you speak at events. I listened to podcasts you were on. I listened to you try and put information out. Like many Americans, we were aware that you were there, but your voice was silenced. Tell me about that. How did a voice like yours end up silenced in such a critical time for Americans in a public health matter?
I think early on, the medical orthodoxy was driven out of fear. They were told to avoid the virus and be safe by a vaccine. It was a flawed strategy. I early on spoke out about the poorly conceived COVID-19 vaccines, that they were going to be unsafe and ineffective. I published and copyrighted the McCullough protocol, the most comprehensive early treatment protocol credited with saving millions of lives, sparing tens of millions of hospitalizations. And the bottom line is, we partially got through and saved as many lives as we could. There are virtually no one taking COVID-19 vaccines now. And I think we've been through 3 administrations. None of them can face the music that the government's pandemic response was a colossal failure.
Yeah, look, I know that people tried. I know that President Trump was doing the best that he could, but he was saddled with Anthony Fauci. We had to listen to a guy like Anthony Fauci. And in my mind, and what I've learned from people like yourself and Dr. Gold, Dr. Stella Manuel, et cetera, down the list, and watching closely in the Laura Logans of the world and being at these conferences with Clay Clark and so forth, I was acutely aware of these things. Yet people in my own family chose to take these vaccines, these experimental, whatever you want to call them, but it was not a vaccine by the standards it should be. Why was it that voice couldn't grow louder? What did the administration do, the Biden administration do, to make this an insufferable situation that harms so many Americans?
Oh, the Biden administration spent many $billion on what's called the COVID Community Core Program. It largely was a giant bribe across the media, religious organizations, sports teams. It was unprecedented flows of government money to seduce people into taking these COVID vaccines. I didn't take them. They weren't safe. They weren't effective. My patients didn't take them. Now, a Rasmussen survey shows 56% of Americans believe that COVID vaccines have caused large numbers of deaths.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it with the myocarditis. We saw people dropping dead, news anchors, sports figures, et cetera, children. We saw these horrific events take place, unfold before our very eyes. And that doesn't even begin to equate the number of people that we didn't see. I know in my own household. So my wife is a medical professional and a house officer in a facility. She took this vaccine and I was horrified that she took it. And she said, I have to because I want to keep helping people, not because they're making me so that I can keep helping people. I'm willing to take this risk because I want to keep helping people in this dark time. I was disturbed. My own mother, I just was flabbergasted with the information I was providing them with, the information people like you and Dr. Emanuel, et cetera, were providing that I was sharing. And yet I experienced it in my own home. Thank God my boys didn't take it. Thank God that we were able to prevent that. But what on earth is going on when we live in a country where trusted medical voices, medical science is silenced? And the Biden administration took part in this. We saw this from the Twitter files and other matters that they actually worked to silence voices like yours. How did that make you feel? And what was wrong when you were trying to help people and you were so desperate to get this information to people?
Well, early I went on the Joe Rogan podcast and really reached so many young people. And, a year or two later, Mark Zuckerberg comes on and says, essentially, YouTube and Meta platforms were censoring me and anybody else bringing hope to America. What people are doing now is they're turning to the wellness company. There's no doubt about it. We have the lead product that will help your wife and others manage this vaccine and eliminate the spike protein from the body, which is the problem with the vaccines. The vaccines stay in the body a very long period of time. And the spike protein, which is the spine on the surface of the virus, the spicule on the surface of the virus, that stays in the body for years. And the only way to get it out is to supplement the body with the necessary enzymes to clear the spike protein. That's the ultimate spike detox. It's standard practice now. Millions of people, are finding a way now to recover after taking these vaccines. And for those who took the vaccines who don't have any problems, I'm still concerned because I'm seeing new blood clots, heart damage, cardiac arrest occurring years after the shots.
So listen, I saw virologists, I saw medical doctors, I saw internal medical doctors. I saw so many different people speaking out about this, and all of their voices were collectively silenced. But the voice that was amplified was that of Anthony Fauci, the World Health Organization, and these other groups that claim to be the end-all be-all cure. But now we have the new administration exposing so much of that. I'm thankful it's being exposed, but would you think that accountability should come, particularly for Anthony Fauci and these other individuals, those that silenced you and those that pervade this to the American people as though it was the efficacy of the right matter of cure?
It's unprecedented that Anthony Fauci, as a doctor, was given 10 years of clemency. He asked for a preemptive pardon for the crimes he knows he committed. I think Rand Paul should be strongly supported on getting a special prosecutor assigned, and Anthony Fauci needs to be called to justice.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think most of America is now awake enough to see this. And thank you for your fight. Thank you, Dr. McCullough, for all you did for America and trying to get this information out to the people, because God knows people needed this information. So many people are injured. So many people are harmed. And thank you and the Wellness Center for having that opportunity for people to be able to be cleansed of this. So again, thanks for joining us today. We look forward to having you back here on The Case for America.